In the past decade, the conversation around American gun rights has undergone a seismic shift, touching every corner of the nation. What was once a steady, simmering debate has erupted into a defining issue of our era, with passionate voices on all sides. The Second Amendment, long a cornerstone of American identity, is now at the center of a profound transformation, one that is reshaping not just laws, but the very fabric of American society. This revolution has been propelled by a Supreme Court that is actively redefining the boundaries of the Second Amendment. With a series of bold decisions, the court has expanded the scope of gun rights, setting new legal precedents that ripple through every state and community. These rulings have not only changed the law, they have changed the national conversation, forcing lawmakers, law enforcement, and citizens alike to reconsider what it means to be armed in America. Landmark decisions have ushered in an era of constitutional carry, where the right to carry a firearm, openly or concealed, no longer depends on permits in most states. This sweeping change has rewritten the rules on who can carry firearms, where they can do so, and under what circumstances, fundamentally altering daily life for millions of Americans. This is not a minor adjustment to existing policy, it is a sweeping reinterpretation of a core American right. The consequences are far-reaching, affecting everything from public safety to personal freedom, and sparking intense debate in communities large and small. The ongoing debate over how to balance individual rights with collective security is being fundamentally recalibrated. Long-standing gun control measures are being challenged, revised, or even dismantled, as both supporters and critics of gun rights mobilize in unprecedented ways. This transformation is not accidental, it is the result of a deliberate, strategic push by gun rights advocates to appoint conservative judges who interpret the Constitution through an originalist lens. Their influence is now unmistakable, shaping the legal landscape for generations to come. By late 2025, the majority of states have adopted permitless carry laws, making it legal for most adults to carry firearms without government approval. This new reality is transforming public spaces, influencing how people interact, and fueling heated political debates at every level of government. The tragic and unexpected death of commentator Charlie Kirk has added a deeply personal and emotional dimension to this already charged debate, prompting reflection on the costs and consequences of America's evolving gun culture. To truly understand this new era, we must examine the landmark legal decisions that have shaped it, the arguments that continue to divide the nation, and the uncertain future that lies ahead for gun rights in America. As the nation stands at a crossroads, Americans are navigating a new and uncertain path, one where the meaning of the Second Amendment and the future of gun rights are being rewritten before our eyes. Constitutional carry is a powerful concept, the right to carry a handgun without a permit. It frames carrying a firearm as an inherent right, not a state-granted privilege. Historically, carrying firearms required permits, but constitutional carry removes this layer. Proponents argue permits create barriers, disarming those needing protection. The movement has gained momentum, with over half of U.S. states enacting permitless carry laws. While specifics vary by state, the principle remains: no permit needed for law-abiding citizens to carry a handgun. This shift is reshaping American gun law, emphasizing inherent rights over government permission. The movement reflects a return to the Second Amendment's original intent. In 2022, the Supreme Court handed down a landmark decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Inc. v. Bruin, a case that would fundamentally alter the landscape of gun rights and regulations in America. This ruling was not just another entry in the court's long history, it was a pivotal moment that forced the nation to reconsider how the Second Amendment is interpreted and enforced. The court established a brand new test for evaluating gun control measures, one that shifted the focus away from modern policy arguments and toward the nation's historical tradition. Instead of relying on contemporary concerns or balancing public safety with individual rights, the justices insisted that any restriction on firearms must be deeply rooted in the practices and understandings of the founding era. In essence, the court declared that modern gun laws must closely align with regulations that existed at the time the Constitution was written. If a law cannot be traced back to the founding generation, it is now at risk of being struck down as unconstitutional. This dramatic shift in legal reasoning immediately invalidated New York's long-standing May-issue licensing system, which had required applicants to demonstrate a special need to carry a handgun in public. The court's decision affirmed for the first time that the right to bear arms extends beyond the home and into public spaces. The Bruin decision opened the floodgates for legal challenges across the country. Laws regulating everything from assault weapon bans to age restrictions and magazine capacities are now being scrutinized under this new historical standard. Courts at every level are grappling with how to apply the Supreme Court's test, leading to a wave of uncertainty and debate. Justice Kavanaugh, in his concurring opinion, made it clear that the court's work on the Second Amendment is far from over. He signaled that more legal battles are on the horizon, as lower courts and lawmakers try to navigate the new rules set by the Supreme Court. The ruling set off a chain reaction across the nation. States with restrictive gun laws were forced to reconsider their policies, while gun rights advocates celebrated a major victory. The legal landscape was reshaped overnight, empowering those who argue for broader interpretations of the Second Amendment. News outlets across the country reported on the decision as a bombshell, recognizing its potential to influence not just current laws, but the very way Americans think about their constitutional rights. The effects of Bruin continue to ripple through courts, legislatures, and communities nationwide. The impact of the Supreme Court's decision is profound and far-reaching. It has fundamentally altered Second Amendment jurisprudence, setting a new precedent that will shape the debate over gun rights and regulations for years to come. Post-Bruin, lower courts face a flood of challenges applying the new historical test. Gun restrictions are being struck down, redrawing American gun law. Courts act as historical arbiters, examining colonial statutes to assess modern regulations. Key provisions like New York's ban on carrying firearms on private property have been invalidated. Age-related restrictions are also challenged, with rulings potentially lowering the carry age nationwide. The process is uneven, with courts reaching different conclusions, creating legal uncertainty. The dominoes continue to fall, reshaping the legal landscape for gun owners and lawmakers. The Supreme Court's Bruin decision marked a turning point in the national conversation about gun rights, but it also left many questions unanswered, creating significant gray areas for courts and lawmakers to navigate. The ruling set a new standard for evaluating gun laws, but its broad language has led to confusion and uncertainty about how it should be applied in practice. One of the most contentious issues is defining what counts as a sensitive place where firearms can be restricted. This debate has sparked legal battles across the country, as advocates on both sides argue over whether locations like schools, government buildings, or even public transportation should be off-limits to guns. States have responded by attempting to create their own lists of sensitive places, but these efforts often lead to lawsuits and a patchwork of inconsistent rulings from different courts, making it difficult for citizens to know what is legal from one jurisdiction to another. The debate doesn't stop at locations. It also extends to the types of weapons people can own. Bans on semi-automatic firearms and high-capacity magazines are under intense scrutiny, with some arguing they are necessary for public safety, while others claim they infringe on constitutional rights. Federal courts across the country have reached different conclusions, deepening the divide and making it increasingly likely that the Supreme Court will need to step in again to provide clarity on these complex issues. Applying an 18th century constitutional test to the realities of modern society is a daunting challenge. As a result, the scope of gun rights and restrictions can vary dramatically depending on where you live, reflecting the nation's diverse views and legal traditions. Recently, the Supreme Court upheld a law that disarms individuals subject to domestic violence restraining orders, signaling that the Bruin decision does not automatically invalidate all gun regulations, and that some restrictions can still stand. As these cases play out in courtrooms nationwide, the boundaries of the Second Amendment remain fiercely contested, with passionate arguments from both gun rights supporters and advocates for stronger regulations. The legal landscape is in constant flux, as Americans continue to debate the balance between individual freedom and collective safety. The outcome of these debates will shape the future of gun rights in the United States for years to come. Shifts in Second Amendment law are tied to political outcomes, affecting judiciary composition. The conservative Supreme Court majority, enabling Bruin, results from electoral victories. Elections determine who nominates and confirms judges, influencing gun rights. Gun rights groups invest in campaigns to elect sympathetic candidates, while opponents seek court reforms. Pending cases like Mexico's lawsuit against U.S. firearm manufacturers could transform gun laws. The political stakes are high, with judicial appointments shaping the legal landscape. Expanded gun rights bring freedoms, anxieties, and confusion for Americans. Constitutional carry allows carrying handguns without permits in many states. Supporters see it as a restoration of rights, enhancing safety and self-reliance. Others worry about untrained individuals carrying guns, increasing risks. Legal uncertainty adds complexity, with rules varying by location. The lack of consistent rules frustrates both gun owners and those avoiding guns. The shift forces a national reckoning on freedom and safety, with real-time implications. Americans are redefining their relationship with guns, balancing rights and safety. The future of gun rights in America remains uncertain, with ongoing debates. The Bruen decision opened a new chapter with unresolved questions about the Second Amendment. The Supreme Court will clarify ambiguities, shaping future laws. Political polarization over guns persists, influencing elections and judicial appointments. State legislatures explore new regulations, setting the stage for legal clashes. Americans must engage with these changes, affecting daily life and public safety. The conversation shifts from the right to bear arms to its scope and limitations. The nation is on a new course, with the future shaped by ongoing dialogue and legal battles.